Hello and welcome to Coach Quip, episode 171. I'm Coach Chris.
I'm Coach Robyn, and today we're talking about
running in extreme weather.
We've arrived. It's the middle of winter, and today we're diving into one of the most challenging parts of the year.
Yeah, we are talking about running outside in the snow, in the ice, in the extreme cold, and how you can continue to be an outdoor runner but stay safe.
You know, running in the winter months, it honestly, as much as I don't like existing in the cold, running in the cold and running in the winter is so special. There's nothing else like it. The upside is that you can stay fit, you can get fit, you can build mental toughness, you can build up your stabilizers and really enjoy the quiet, whether it's a snow-covered lakefront path or just a quiet kind of dark morning because no one else is out. You literally, especially in Chicago, you get to own the city.
Oh, it feels so badass to be outside, I think, running in the winter. And it's great for your base because you have to slow down a little bit. So it's just the timing of it is perfect in terms of our season. And the mental toughness benefits of being an outdoor runner are unmatched. I think I also hate existing in the cold, but absolutely love running outside. Once I get there, I just have to get
I need 10 minutes. I need the 10 minutes.
Yeah. Don't talk to me at that first part, but yeah, 10 minutes in,
I'm good.
We're loving it.
You know, it's important to be cautious and make sure that you're doing what's right, though, to stay safe and warm and injury-free. You know, at Edge, I think we've canceled one run because of extreme cold in, 8+ years that we've been doing group runs. That's not to say you should always be running, but it does mean that we educate our runners on what the heck to wear to make it as safe as possible. So, whether you're a seasoned winter runner or thinking about heading outside for your first snow run, which, yes, do it, this episode really, truly has you covered. So we're breaking it down into key tips for running in extreme cold and super amazing snowy conditions.
Okay, a bonus tip here is your socks, thinking about your socks. This is an area that a lot of people just pass over, but it can make a big difference to have a wool sock or some sort of weather blocking sock when you're going out for the winter runs.
This is where I use cycling gear. I always use Castelli has awesome wool cycling socks because let's be real. If we had to run or ride in the winter, we would all choose to run because it's so much warmer.
It is.
So if they're making winter biking or cycling socks, they're going to be hella warm.
Yeah.
And that's what I tend to use. And they tend to go up a little bit higher than a run sock too.
Yep.
Next up, wearing the right footwear. You all knew shoes were going to be on this list, right? So running in snow and ice, it really means that your shoes need to be ready for a whole bunch of conditions, specifically slippery ones, because those we really only encounter this time of year, right? No other time of year. So first up, traction. Look at the bottom of the shoe. Look for ones that have aggressive lugs and tread, specifically designed for winter running. Trail shoes are also kind of a great sub in here. Brands like Saucony, Brooks, New Balance offer winter-specific models with deeper lugs and better grip.
Yeah, along with that, gaiters can also be helpful. So gaiters are kind of taken from cycling, or maybe
trail runners use them too.
Ice fishing,
all of them.
All of the things. But this is basically just a little sleeve that you wear over your foot, over your shoe to keep the snow from coming in on the sides of the shoe or down your ankles. And that can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
Like once your feet are wet, it is over when you are an outside runner in the cold. So you step in a sloshy puddle of snow, and that can make for a very uncomfortable run. Gaiters don't necessarily keep all of the water out from a puddle per se, but the snow blowing in or things coming up over the top of the shoe will be prevented from gaiters.
Yep. Next up is ice cleats or spikes. If you're running on ice, this is a big one for me for trail. Consider investing in ice cleats or micro spikes, or even sometimes you can even screw in little screws. Don't. Just go and do it, please. Watch it with YouTube. But they're really small. All of the actual ones, not the screws, are small attachments you can strap onto your running shoes. They provide extra grip and really prevent you while slipping. I love my micro spikes. They have really saved me. I do notice, obviously, that it's a little heavy, right? It's heavier. It's metal. It's doing what it needs to do. But it really gives you kind of peace of mind in slippery conditions.
Next up is waterproofing. So there are several shoes that have a waterproof layer. We have some Nike Pegasus makes their winter edition that I really love. wet feet in cold conditions, like I said, not a good thing, and it can really be the first step to frostbite and some really more severe conditions. So we want to make sure, or blisters even. Yeah, blisters with wet socks. So we want to make sure your shoes are waterproof, or you can even treat some of your shoes with a waterproof spray to kind of help. That's not going to be fully waterproof, but maybe more water resistant, and that could be something that could get you over if you're not going to invest in a new pair of shoes.
Next big tip, know your routes and your conditions. So before you head out, it's crucial to know where you're going. Think about it, be mindful. Snow and ice, we know, create hazards that you might not expect. Maybe you know your routes really well, right? But there's always going to be some curveball when it comes to winter running. So we've got, hidden patches of black ice, snow drifts, not knowing where the potholes are. Here is how we're thinking you can best prepare for those.
Yeah, so first up is to check the weather. So you need to know what the conditions are going to be. You need to know if the wind chill is going to be too severe. And this is one that a lot of runners don't factor in, but we definitely need to be thinking about the wind chill when we're both dressing and thinking about that route and whether we want to be outside or not at all. When you know what to expect in terms of weather, you can sort of plan your route and your distance appropriately. So maybe you can go out for a shorter run and the conditions aren't going to allow for something longer, or maybe it's totally fine and you can do your regular run and add speed as planned.
Next up is to choose well-prepared routes. If you can, run on roads or trails that are well-maintained. I know the 606 is usually one of the better places that you can run, along with the lakefront path. Honestly, It is salted, it is plowed most times of the year. If you're on a trail, look for routes, of course, that have been cleared as much as possible of ice and snow. Running in a park with groom paths or along cleared streets are usually better than venturing into wilderness, especially kind of after a snowstorm.
Yeah, and especially if you know those routes before you go out on them. Like I'm thinking about the 606, and there were a couple of times over the summer where it was raining and I went out on the 606 and there were huge puddles, like spots where the water accumulates. Knowing that now, if I was to go out on a winter day, I would be more cautious around those areas. So knowing your routes really helps. And then we also want to make sure that we're running during daylight hours if we can, if it's possible. So it's not possible for everyone, but if you're running in the dark, we want to make sure that the paths are well lit. The sun is great because it might clear some of the path for you. At the same time, it might also make spots a little bit more icy as things melt a little bit. So it can be tricky to spot ice in the dark. That's another benefit of daytime running, but good lighting can help offset that. So just making sure that you are aware of what your lighting will be like, whether it's in the day or after hours or before hours.
One final note on conditions that we find in our edge group runs is doing them with people in crazy weather is really helpful because you can call things out to each other, right? So if you see ice, and you're with 5 people, now you have 10 eyes instead of 2 eyes looking for ice. Being vocal, using others to be able to identify what's going on in your surroundings keeps you safe.
All right, our next big one is adjusting your pacing and expecting slower times. As I mentioned at the top, this is a great part of the season to really focus in on your base building, which is done by slowing down a little bit. So it actually works out really well here. But when you're running in snowy or icy conditions, your pace will likely slow down. And that's natural, that's to be expected. It's totally okay. Snow can create a little bit of resistance, but also we want to make sure that we are using shorter and more cautious steps because we might not know what's underneath the snow.
So on this note, totally cool to slow the heck down. This is why at Edge we tend to write in a lot of easy AF efforts because it's naturally already going to happen. So don't focus, especially when it's cray-cray out, on hitting specific pace goals. Instead of listen to your body and adjust really based on what's going on condition-wise. Running slower can not only help you stay safer, but it not only helps with traction, but is going to help continue to build that base, right? It still serves a wonderful purpose.
Yeah, and then next up is thinking about your stride and your form in those colder or snowier conditions. So on icy surfaces or snowy conditions, you're going to want to make sure that you are adjusting your stride to be a little bit shorter to keep your center of gravity over your hips to maintain better balance. You want to avoid quick, jerky movements also because that might throw you off.
This is where core work comes into play as well.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
or agility class, which we have on Sundays and Tuesdays here at Edge. All right, next up is keeping your extremities warm. Remember, we're always talking about like keeping our core warm, but everything that's far from your heart is going to need a little extra help. We're talking about your hands, your feet, and your head. They are even more vulnerable in the cold than your core. Here's how to protect them. First up, not a surprise, gloves, right? Invest in warm, moisture-wicking gloves or mittens. If it's really cold, you can wear like a thin liner underneath it or thicker mittens for added warmth. I know I tend to get my hands get hot, but I know that I need them covered. Yeah. So a lot of times I will wear like something like little cutoffs and then put a big mitten on top. So I have a way to like stick a thumb out if I get hot, right? Stick it back in. Yeah. But my fingers are together creating little pockets.
Yeah, I have so many gloves. My hands always go cold, but I just sent somebody the lobster gloves. Yeah. And so lobster gloves are like a combination of mitten and regular glove where you have like the Spock fingers, right?
Yep.
Is that?
Yeah, that's it. Star Trek.
Yeah, and so that's another option for you, but so important to make sure that that's taken care of. And you can always take them off, right? So this is a thing like the venting that's going to help you stay comfortable as you're running outside. Next up would also be a hat and a buff. So buff being the sort of neck warmers that you find. Thermal hat or a beanie is an essential piece of your running kit. I would say the trucker style hat with the ventilation in the back, not great because a lot of your heat escapes through your head. So unless you are a super hot runner, you're going to want to have your skull covered. But again, the good thing is that you can take it on and off as you need to. And it's pretty easy to peel those things off.
I love a buff.
Yeah.
I think I want to go back to that episode of Favorite Gear because I might actually... No, I still like gum more. But a buff is up there for me because it can do so many things. It can start on my ears, and then if I heat up, and let's say it's not that cold out, I can pull it down and now it's warming my neck. Or if it's on my neck and I turn around and have that oh shit moment on the lakefront path, I can pull it up and cover my mouth to help humidify the air going into my lungs. So it's this really wonderfully versatile thing that doesn't even need to be that thick in order for it to be effective. And we also sell them at Edge. So there's that. But they're everywhere. So, just get one. That should be one that you have like 5 or 6 of at all times.
Yep.
And just use the heck out of them.
Oh, I layer them. I have two. I'm a 2 buff winter runner because I can take that top one up over my face, but still have the bottom one.
Oh, you
covering.
do 2 on your neck?
2 on my neck.
Oh, I'll do one on my ears, one on my neck.
Yeah, but I often will shed one. But yeah. Also, then face protection is the final piece here of keeping these extremities warm. So we want to make sure that on particularly windy or icy days that we do have that sort of barrier. It's really easy to get chapped lips or a chapped face from running outside, and I think a lot of people don't really think of that.
I'm still chapped from our weekend run.
You really?
Yeah, I am. I have a lot of makeup on if you're watching.
So a face mask, a balaclava, or a buff can help you avoid frostbite.
You can also layer up some Vaseline, right? So put on definitely sunscreen if it's going to be sunny out, but also like putting on Aquaphor, something onto your skin and lips and nose before heading out can really help provide an extra barrier.
Sounds gross to me, but I know it works.
It does.
I'd rather have a buff.
That is true. It is true. The buff is way cooler.
Yeah. Next up is to be cautious of your snow and ice conditions. I know this sounds like a no-brainer, but just to say it one more time, we really want to be cautious on ice and snow, especially if you're running in unfamiliar areas. And we want to be thinking about black ice. So black ice would be super hard to spot in most cases because it sort of just looks,
like
unassuming.
Pavement.
Yeah, like pavement. And that's another reason why we shorten our strides. And we want to make sure that we are extra cautious anywhere that there are intersections or a lot of times sidewalks can have black ice, those places that water pools in the summer, and bridges especially.
Yeah,
which is
always.
Important for
right?
us.
There's not ground underneath the bridge, so it's going to freeze first.
Yep. We also want to watch out for snow drifts and snow piles. Now, as fun as it is to jump in them randomly, is it just me? No?
No, I do.
Do you?
Yeah, sure.
You don't know what's underneath those things.
No.
So this is, I had like the really adult moment this fall where I saw a pile of leaves and I wanted to jump in it, and I was like, there might be a stake
branch,
or
yeah.
like I might get impaled if I jump on that thing. And I was like, wow, look how much I've grown.
That's 40s, folks.
such an adult. But we want to think about the same thing with snow drifts and piles, that snow can hide other obstacles, and you want to be cautious as you're stepping through it.
Next up, stay hydrated. Right. This is one that people forget about on the reg.
Always.
So hydration does not just apply to summer runs. It's just as important in the winter. You might not feel as thirsty in cold weather, of course, because you're doing other things like regulating your body temperature. But we promise you, your body is still losing fluids through sweat and respiration. So remember, drink water before, during, if you can, and after your run. Even if you're not craving it, don't guzzle it, right? But we want some going in. You can also sipping on an electrolyte drink either before, during, or after to really help replace lost minerals. I get into trouble with this one because a lot of times I will wake up and I will drink coffee only, and then I will go for a run. But it does not work to go for a run if you've only had coffee. And then I will come back right, so thirsty. Where if I would have just, taken down even 4 ounces of water beforehand, it would have just helped me not be quite so parched when I came back in.
And that's why you keep your water bottle in front of the coffee machine.
That is why.
Yep.
It is right there.
Solutions.
Thanks, James.
All right, to recap, with the right preparation, with the right gear, and with the right mindset, you can be a winter runner all winter long.
So remember that running literally outside is not just about braving the elements. It's about embracing the challenge, staying consistent, and finding the beauty in those peaceful, snowy runs where you truly, in Chicago, get to own the city. If you have any of your own winter running tips, we'd love to hear them. Tag us.
Thanks for listening to Coach Quip. Original music performed by Ment. Follow us online on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Edge Athlete Lounge. Our podcast lives in the blog section of our website. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and you can check out the show notes for additional ways to contact us. Ready, set, onward we go.